networker is like a great interviewer.
I'm huge on authenticity, guys. It's a big part of my message.
Claim your local listings and don't get caught paying someone for your local listing.
If you want to be successful, you got to do 6 things 1,000 times, not 1,000 things 6 times.
And when in doubt, give to other people and don't expect anything in return. But in giving to other people and helping them, it almost always comes back.
It's using the power of partnership, creating trusted partner networks to work with you to make your company be an offer more than just you.
They've done 90% of the work. It's your job to do the last 10% to meet them in the middle.
Don't let the fear of losing be greater than the excitement of winning. All right, guys, welcome to this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast. My name is Galen.
Good morning, I'm Joe.
And we're coming at you virtually from the BD Local Studios in Tacoma, Washington. A shout out to our sponsors, A Advanced Septic Services, happy 16th birthday, and Fuse Networks. So, Joe, to our new listeners and viewers, can you tell everyone how our podcast came to be, please?
Sure. So it first started out as a Facebook group page, and the purpose was to bring businesses together to kind of just communicate with one another, talk, share tips, ask questions, just kind of get some kind of free brainstorming going on. And we thought, what a better way than to bring on different guest speakers to talk about different topics somehow related to business, so that they can share their wealth and knowledge with our audience. And then those are, people who follow us and either listen to the podcast or watch the videos can have some takeaways.
Awesome. And before we introduce our guests, our last guest was Matt Mercino, our last episode. Building bridges and values. What was one of your main takeaways when Matt was on our episode?
Sure. So for me, it was he talked about with the values, making sure that the people that you are hiring also share the same values as your company. That sometimes it's more important to hire people who share those same values than their actual skill set.
And what I wrote down is a couple notes. Mission is active, vision is future. You articulate your values across the entire company, so you involve all the stakeholders. So speaking of values, we're lucky to have one of our most valuable fans of the podcast, Gail Bailey. She's a beauty consultant with Mary Kay. Gail, tell a little bit about yourself to our audience, please.
Well, thanks, Galen and Joe, for having me here today. Yes, I'm Gail Bailey, beauty consultant with Mary Kay, and next month of May is my 25th anniversary in Mary Kay.
Oh, wow.
Congrats.
Thanks, yeah.
So you don't look a day over like 30, so I don't know how that's possible.
Well, thank you. It's Mary Kay.
There you go.
Mary Kay's good stuff. So, yeah, what's great about having a Mary Kay beauty consultant is when you get together with me, I find out about you, your skin type, what your needs are, what you want to get out of whatever it is you're looking for, and then I'll sit down with you and show you how to use the skincare, and I can help you, for the girls, help you match up foundation and color application, as well as the makeup application, how to actually apply it. So
Awesome.
I'm not just selling you products, but I'm teaching you how to use them and only just what you need.
So you've been following and being a great supporter of our podcast. Can you just share, before we get into our podcast, some of your favorite guests or topics that we've covered? Because your feedback has been essential with us to help try to provide more and better value for our clients and our listeners and viewers.
Oh, well, thank you. I really enjoy the podcasts. First of all, they're great. And I've learned something from all of them. But the one that's fresh in my mind is Tanya, because I just listened to that. She was talking about, for your business, doing videos. And there's so many different types you can make, and everybody responds differently to them. So she said, don't be afraid to be silly. And I think people like that. They want the authentic you. So if you make a little mistake or make jokes or whatever, people respond to it. And then sometimes some people want the longer videos.
Right.
So like she said, you just have to try them all and put them out there and see what people respond to. So next step for me is TikTok, because I haven't done that yet. So we'll see how that goes.
You and me both.
Awesome. So before we move further, our hashtag Valor Cares promotion is something we're really proud of, Joe. Can you share a little bit with our audience about that?
So our Valor Cares is all about giving back to businesses across the U.S. and this. It's a way, so the website is a foundation for every single business. And so we thought during the pandemic when it first started, what a better way than to give back to businesses by offering free website builds. So
Awesome.
I don't know, we've built, a dozen or so right now. And the ones who win really appreciate the fact that they just got a free website built for their business that represents their business. And just it's that foundation piece that every business should have.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And we'll have more information on our social media channels or follow us on our website. So we come to our A Advanced Septic Pump You Up quote of the day. It's special for us because A Advanced Septic just celebrated their 16th birthday or 16th year in business. We've been with them for a lot of those years. So that kind of customer success is something we're really proud of for us as a company to provide value to see companies grow and our playbook really work. So today's quote's by John Maxwell. To add value to others, one must first value others. And value is something that's really big for us as a company, but not only, and for this podcast too, is just to provide value. As Gail said, we provide a lot of different value, different angles, perspectives, and it's good to have our listeners. We have a real listener, so here's one real listener that gives us feedback. So today's episode really will focus on what's upcoming for our next coming podcast through most of the year. So our Fuse Networks, Did You Know? So what you'll find out is our upcoming guests. But first, listen to a message from Aaron Seiverts from Fuse Networks.
Fuse Networks, providing IT managed services and solutions in the Pacific Northwest since 2009. Here's Aaron with today's Did You Know segment. Did you know that 92% of data breaches originate via email from end-user mistakes by clicking hard to spot malicious links and attachments? As a cloud solutions provider and Microsoft partner, we've helped many organizations increase their Office 365 security posture. Is your environment secure enough to avoid a breach? Click the Learn More button now for your complimentary IT security assessment from Fuse Networks and better protect your business from cybercrime.
Okay, we'll go back into it. Now we're back. Our next guest is going to be Chris Williams. So, how to build an audience. So, Joe, when we did our discovery call or you booked him, what was something that first came to mind, like why he'd be a good guest?
One of the reasons why I wanted to bring him on is because he is a fellow podcaster. He also owns a marketing company. So I love having those two things on in some of the, I don't know, some of the things that I'm looking for in bringing on the guests. So we've never brought on another marketing agency that does exactly what we do.
Right.
But I think that he'll just provide so much value to our listeners.
And from a listener standpoint, what is your first thought on when you think of how to build an audience? So obviously, you're always looking to expand your audience too, right, Gail?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, how to build an audience. Yeah, just finding people that want what I have to offer, right? And so that's why I'm trying all these different avenues like YouTube and different things so that I can try to expand and get the audience that I'm looking for.
Awesome. One of our next upcoming guests is Colonel David Fivecoat. So, how someone can grow their grit, fear of failure. Joe, you purchased the book, right? And I've actually read another grit book by Dr. Angela Duckworth, which is it's a recommended read that you've covered too. Yeah. But when you think of this topic, how someone can grow their grit, what was one of the first things that you thought of?
Well, for me, it's a selfish reason. So like I was telling Galen this morning when we were eating, he was a instructor in Ranger School, and my son's right now going through Ranger selection. So to me, it was more of a selfish reason for bringing him on board. But also, like the book, I purchased the book, yes, but it's for my son. And so when he gave us stuff to bring back after infantry school, when he moved on, he kept that book with him. So obviously, learning grit and having personal grit is something that he's looking forward to. So I thought that he would just be a great guest to have on.
So, and from a listener's perspective, Gail, you've been in the Mary Kay game for 25 years. Having grit, it's not all happy times. I mean, you had to build it up, right? So having grit was probably pretty essential for your growth as a beauty consultant.
Yes, and I love this grit because, it means, you don't quit, you dig in, and you do what needs to be done. And we talk about this a lot in Mary Kay, too. So I haven't personally read the book, but I'm going to read it now. But, it's very important to just, dig in and just keep on going if you believe in what you're doing.
Awesome. Yeah. One of our upcoming guests is a gentleman named Kaisen Patel. And this is a topic we've never covered ever, but what is M&A? So mergers and acquisitions. So there's companies all the time that get acquired. You hear it in big corporate America, this company purchasing this company or Microsoft buying this company. But for everyday entrepreneurs, small, medium-sized businesses, it's a real case scenario too, right?
Absolutely. Like I've had clients reach out to me like, hey, in the coming months, I'm looking at selling my company. What's the process? Where do I start? How do I figure out what my company is worth? How do I know how how do I even get my business out there to let other businesses know that mine's going to be for sale?
Right.
So I think that this is, especially now during the pandemic, I think a lot of people are looking towards retiring, and they're looking for, hey, I want to start the next chapter of my life, and selling my business is one of those topics that has just come up. So this was just going to be a great guest to share his wealth and knowledge of how even the small business owner who has 5 employees and is doing $500,000 to $1 million in revenue a year, how they can go about figuring out the worth of their company,
Right.
and then providing that value to it, and how they could sell it.
So as we continue with that value, one of our next upcoming guests is Dan Whedon, a local gentleman, for business continuity planning. So before you sell, maybe you're thinking of passing your business on to someone, or the next steps that if you do want to sell, who's going to be taking over, right? A lot of our clients have sons or daughters that are in the business, and what's the transition plan? Dan also has a podcast, the Shrimp Tank podcast, right?
Yep.
But what was your thought when we talked with Dan?
He talked about risk management as well. So risk management is something that for every business, you go get business insurance, but one of the things a lot of times you do not look at is what are the risks with your business. So I think just having a new topic that has not been talked about on the podcast just brings that little bit of extra value to our audience.
Right. And coming off a pandemic where there's a lot of risk for a lot of businesses that shut down, pause, pivot, panic, whatever P you want to pick, this is a good topic as you kind of move forward past that and everything. So we have a repeat guest on, Mr. Terry Dry,
the godfather of social media.
Yes.
He'll love that.
we enjoyed him a lot. His background is unique. He has a background in the music industry, but just this, what his company is doing now, and his insights on social media. What was one thing you liked about Terry, and then bringing him back on again?
I think for the biggest thing for me is his energy. He had a lot of really positive energy. He was very upbeat. He was very easy to talk to. And sometimes I think that's more important in bringing on guests, that they are more upbeat. They do bring that energy. You can ask them anything and they'll tell you anything. So like that unedited version or the uncut version. So for him, bringing him on, whether it's we're talking about social media again, or we're just going to pick another topic, maybe somebody in the audience has a topic that that they want us to bring up and have him talk about. I think that's what I like.
And Joe brings up a great point. Guys, you could message us if you know us personally or on our social media channels. Any topics you want for us to discuss or bring in or recommend a guest, we're all for it. Even perhaps if you want to be a good follower, a loyal follower like Gail, to even sit in this chair and come on and share your feedback as well. One of our next upcoming guests is Desmond Dixon. So the forgotten talent of phone sales.
Yep.
So Joe, in a different life, you and I were pounding the pavement, hitting the phones. But it is, you have the Zoom component now, face-to-face, but sometimes phone is a forgotten skill. So
I actually love this topic because I still do phone sales. I still cold call. I still swing doors. So when we interviewed him, kind of did our discovery call with him, I mean, the guy is under 30 years old. He's living abroad. So every single month he lives in a different country, and he teaches sales. And
right.
So I think that's
his company's emergency sales training, right?
Yeah.
And he has a podcast, Campfire Capitalism, right?
Yep. So I just look forward to this because here's this young guy who's under 30 and he's going to teach us older people about, the art of sales and how phone sales is still relevant in this day and age.
Right. So do you use the phone a lot, Gail? Or when you talk to your, people, or is it mostly via social media how you communicate with people?
Well, what I've learned is every person communicates differently. So either they like the phone call, they like text, they like email, or they like social media. So you have to find out what each person relates to and do that. But yeah, phone calling I think is very important, and especially now people want that connection, instead of just a text because they've been isolated for 2 years. So phone calling is great, and yeah, it just reaching out to them, and when I'm calling someone I don't really know, I just pretend that they're going to be happy to hear from me and that I'm calling a friend like you, Galen, and so that you can have a nice, happy, positive conversation.
Yeah. It's awesome. One of the tip quick for people is, and I learned this from a client of ours who does heating and air, but he actually has the people who make the phone calls. This is an old school sales thing, but he actually has a mirror up in front of their desk. So that way, when they're talking on the phone and they're looking at themselves, if you're smiling, the people on the other end of the line can tell that you're smiling. If you're sad or frown, they can tell that you're, so they pick up on that energy. So his whole thing is, and you go in his office now and they still have it up, there's a mirror right in front of them. So when they pick up the phone, they look at themselves in the mirror.
Right.
And it teaches them to smile more, and just provide that more positive energy.
Awesome point. Another guest we're really excited for is Jeff West. Fusion Points, engage the science of persistence and really sales tips. So Jeff has a wealth of sales experience.
Correct, yeah.
Right. But what's unique with him is there's a science behind it. So the note I wrote is logic plus positive emotion. There's a scientific way to manipulate that to increase your sales. So when we had our discovery call, Joe, what was the one thing that stuck out
Man,
for
I
you?
took a whole bunch of notes with him. Just because every single business is a salesman.
Right.
They're trying to sell, whether they think they are or they think they're not, they're a salesman. They're trying to sell their product or their service or their solution to their customers or to their audience. So again, with him, I just look forward to the fact that we're touching base on sales because, as he mentioned to us, every single business you're selling.
Right. So we have it to this point of our preview episode, we haven't had a lot of women guests. So we're back to that. So we have Miss Saba Ali on, I believe, in October, November. We're going to try to highlight her for National Women's Small Business Month. But building unforgettable brands. She's given a TED Talk. She's been on the cover of Forbes. Talk about energy, and she's young. Joe, what was one of the things that resonated on our discovery call with her?
That one's tough for me because it's been a while. So I brushed up a little bit yesterday and read a little bit more about her. I went to her website. Just the fact that she's, again, the under 30, and she's working with people in their 40s, 50s, 60s to help build brands. I mean, for me, it's like when you look at a business owner who is 50 years old, why would I take the advice of someone who hasn't even been around yet?
Right.
So for her, just to see her stats, and she's actually done, I think, 2 TEDx talks.
Yes. And social media is almost the great equalizer where experience doesn't matter as much. So if you're 50 years old or you've been in business 30, 40 years, a social media expert, just because you're that old doesn't mean you're an expert. And really you rely on people who do it well, fresh, to kind of, from the value component or refresh. You always got to pivot, right? So, like, who moved your cheese? You're not going to eat that same piece of cheese. You got to go find the next one and everything.
Right. And with social media, it's just always changing. So having a fresh set of eyes or a fresh set of eyes teaching us or teaching the audience about social media, what's relevant now. Because like you said, you mentioned TikTok. I'm not going to TikTok. I tried to TikTok. I'm not a dancer. This is Galen's realm, right? He'll dance.
No.
And maybe
my daughter, yes, she told me no, but no.
But just learning what's hip, what's new with the different social media channels. I think it's just going to be a great person to have on.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get you to do the Running Man or Cabbage Patch out here, Joe.
Maybe.
Take a tune.
Thankfully, there's not enough room in the studio for that.
All right, yo, DJ, drop a beat. Okay, next time.
I'm excied for that too, Galen, because for me, I've learned from...
dancing?
No, not the dancing.
Okay.
No, not the dancing.
I was excited for that.
Just the social media part, because, since I'm older, it's been nice to watch other people's videos and how they do it. And so I've learned some tips of what to do and what not to do from watching other people. So I think it'll be great.
But the cool part is, like, you've opened yourself up to learn more about these platforms that could help you. And like you've done it for 25 years, so you've done it well, but you're always trying to rediscover how can I make myself better. And a lot of entrepreneurs, we try to provide value with the guests we have, so you guys could become better entrepreneurs, better than us. Right. So, and our last guest we could announce before the end of the year is a gentleman, Jason Hyland. He's the owner of Sub 70 Golf, the art of customer service. So, yes, I'm a golfer. Yes, I bought his products. But what really impressed me was his customer service angle. He provided me a cell phone number, personal handwritten letter, follow-up, how do these clubs work out and everything. And it's just grown, whereas customer loyalty, he's one of the best brands that have the highest customer loyalty score. When we had him on, Joe, on our discovery call, what was one thing that really resonated with you?
just that takeaway, like even during it, he was like, I'm not sure I'm the right person to be on your podcast. And as he continued to talk, he kept bringing up why he is the best person to be on the podcast. And he was just sharing with, like you had mentioned, like, hey, you bought a set of clubs, a handwritten thank you note came in there. Hey, if you have questions about this, please reach out to me. And then he's still willing to pick up the call, pick the phone and take calls from customers. I think that's huge because nowadays, if let's say there's an issue that goes on with the business, 9 times out of 10, you don't get in touch with that business owner. You talk to like a customer service agent there or maybe the VP of this, but you rarely ever get to speak with the owner of a company anymore these days. So to provide that kind of level of customer service, I mean, to me, that's just amazing and an example of why he should be on, telling his story.
Right. And I guess I'll ask you as a guest, is there a topic or kind of guest that you'd like to see on this podcast? What's something that you want to really learn about that we haven't maybe covered yet or we could cover in more detail? I'm putting you on the spot.
I know you are. Well, first of all, I want to address what Joe was saying about the business owner, the golfer, the guy that makes the golf stuff. It is very important to send thank you cards to your customers. And if I don't actually have their physical mailing address, I'll email them. And I like to follow up with people to ask them how the product's working. So you can't get that like if you go to Macy's and get products.
Right.
You're not usually going to get the same person, but having your own consultant, I'm going to be there with you every step of the way, helping you with the product. So I really believe that the handwritten thank you is definitely very important. I do that.
That's
For
good.
all new customers, when they get together with me, I send them cards. People that I mail to, they always get a card in there, sometimes a little gift. So the Galen said earlier about the value. I believe that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yep.
So you want to show that personal concern for people. So as far as for future topics, I don't know right off the top of my head. Sorry, Galen.
I'm going to let you think about that for a second.
Okay, I can think about it.
The whole thank you card thing is something that like I've implemented a couple years ago. I used to do it and then I stopped doing it. And then I got introduced to like Mailbox Power. I'll give them a shout out. It's very similar to send out cards. But it's something that you can go and you could add your company logo to it. You can create different messages. You could buy cards that they have. You can design your own. But I will always send out thank you cards to new customers. For people who send us referrals, I send out brownies with a picture and a message on it. And then just every quarter, just staying in touch with people that we network with. For Google workshops we do, Galen puts it together and we send out postcards to our network. So I think that the art of people follow-up is just very, very important. And it's a way for you to keep customers long-term.
Awesome.
I agree.
Talking about following up and providing value. One last plug for our Valor Cares initiative, Joe.
So if you own a business and maybe you don't have a website or it's outdated or you just don't have access to it and you're trying to make updates to it, you can go to our website, which is askvalormasterminds.com, and there's going to be a page on there for the Valor Cares. You can submit your information or maybe submit someone else's information, and then every month our committee get together and we just pick a couple winners.
Right. And we will actually have a new value add to that. Our video.
Yep.
So mention the video from Waymark.
There's a company called Waymark that's out, I think they're in Detroit, and they're going to provide a free, I think it's like a 30-second video. So we'll provide a code. You enter the code on the website, and you get a free video along with the free.
With your website.
Yeah. But I want to go back to you, Gail. Yes. What topics do you think we should talk about?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know. You guys seem to cover such a great variety.
Or is there any topics you think we should revisit?
Oh,
Be selfish here. Think about you. What would you want to?
I'm sorry. I'm not that type of person. I don't know. I just do like all the ones that do pertain to how, people can make their business better, grow. Well, with my brand is already out there. Mary Kay Cosmetics been established for 58 years. So there's not much more we can do with that. But yeah, just how we can better market ourselves and reach more people. It's always looking to reach more people.
So if you guys have any feedback, please feel free to reach out to us. We're appreciative of all your listens, views, downloads, and everything supporting our podcast, but we're always looking to get better. So feel free to share your feedback with Joe or myself. But thanks, guys, for watching. So on behalf of our sponsors, happy 16th birthday to A Advanced Septic Services and Fuse Networks. My name's Galen.
I'm Joe.
Coming at you virtually from the BD Local Studios in Tacoma, Washington. Thanks for watching this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast. See you guys.